Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's another day in the neighborhood. It's Robert Phoenix, and this is the Astro Weather. And if I asked you where this scene was behind me, you probably wouldn't get it. You probably wouldn't get it. So I'll tell you. This is sunrise over Mongolia. Look at that. Look at that beautiful Mongolian sunrise. For all you Mongolian listeners out there, buenos dias. How do you say good morning in Mongolian? Let's find out. Let's do a greeting to all of our Mongolian viewers out there. This is just for you. Let's see. We're gonna go English right here. There we go. We got English, and we're gonna go let's see, Mongolian. Okay, here we go. Okay, I got it. To all of you listeners and viewers in Mongolia, Agluni Mend. That means good morning, just in case you're wondering. They even have the pronunciation here. Oh, they have good morning, dear. So in Mongolian, that would be Agluni Mend Kongormini. Agluni Mend Kongormini. It kind of fits for the star of the day, as you'll see. So shout out to Mongolia. All right, let's see who we have here. More on the continental side of things. Let's say Michael's sister Nino. What's happening? Peachy? Pedrita Pebbles. Buenos dias, Pedrita. Meow meow. Nora Sheed, the queen of speed. Nunya Beeswax. What's happening? Krista Royce. Hi, Krista. Janice Phillips. Trying to find a kick-ass coffee. Coffee's not strong enough the last couple days. I had to make soap this morning, do some sewing this afternoon. I've heard that about a half a teaspoon of methamphetamine will really give that coffee a kick. Just saying. Let's see who else we have here. I think what's going on, Lynn? Meowgical Catacorn, Mary Lee. Morning back at you. Sharon Lewis, my grandma boiled chicken's feet. My grandma didn't boil chicken's feet. My grandmother barely cooked. Green-eyed Crow, what's happening? There's a man, Thomas Jordan, TJ. Brandy Herrera checking in from Artesia, New Mexico. Brandy, if you want to trade that RV in and get something a little more updated, I suggest you go see our friend Nora down there in Albuquerque. Go pay Nora a visit in the ABQ, and she'll hook you right up. Orlando's cup of coffee with Scream. What's going on, sister? Sister Coffee. Healing Heart Rosie. Slept in an oil rig field on the side of the road. That sounds so dystopic. Road Trip 1981. We'll be here in the replay. I promise not to say anything that controversial so that the show remains up. There's my man, Ryan, the introspective woodworker. And you know what? Let's take his advice. Please remember to hit the like. Thank you, Ryan, for reminding me to put that up there. Hit the like, subscribe, And if you want to be a member of the locals scene, it's right over there. Sign up, become a member, and a supporting member, which always helps with the show. There's Joel Law checking in from Charlottesville. Maria d'Ange beaming in from Francais. Slot Bunny. We got a Slot Bunny in the house checking in from Vegas. And yes, if you feel so inclined, you can buy me a cup of coffee and help me with the debacle of my truck. The truck that is the money pit. Laura E. checking in from the Green Mountains of Vermont. Lovely. I love Vermont. Vermont, New Hampshire. Love that area. PMSO, Janine. What's going on? There she is. The lovely and talented Dr. Joan S. Saving Austin's mouths. Saving Austin one mouth at a time. The best darn holistic dentist in the entire state. Sandra Jack Shaw, what's going on, SJS? Good to see you, Moonsprout. Moira, New York. Kelly B. Let's see. Yeah, we had a little local sighting here. Nunya was in Joan's office yesterday. She said, I saw you in chat. What do you know? It's a small world after all. Arlene Vegas here. So is Rainbows and Butterflies. Let's see. Big Dave Sullivan. What's up, Dave? Artist Sear. I'm living in Florida instead of West Coast time. Yeah, it's a little bit easier to catch a show, isn't it? Charlie's here. Scott Jersey. Scott, you've been showing up before Christina. I keep score here at home. Good to see you, Scott. Gen X, tenga un buen día, Arlena. There you go. Let's see. Esperanza Vence Tarot, Misbehaving too. Who else? Mary Grether. Joe Litke. Today's turning to be wild already. Hit those buttons. Second that opinion. There you go. Matt Burns. Greetings, Matt. Jimmers 233. What's up, Jimmers? That's with a Z, by the way. Let's see. We got Scrubbies. Tamara with the name check. What's going on, Tamara? Emmy Green. Hi, Emmy. Still hot as hell in Houston. Well, as long as you got that AC, you're good. We hope you got that. Harriet Bowie. Hey. Platinum Happiness 2024. How's that hip? Whitney Palm is here. What's going on, Brother Whit? Survivor of the rude dose of apocalypse. Congratulations for that. Good to see you, Whit. Claire. Hi, Claire. Let's see. Lisa Ann White. Hi, Lisa. I'd almost drive to Austin for Joan is above decent. She's levels above decent. Watch Wild Angels by Roger Corman in the middle of the night. Roger Corman, what you could just tell, Curtis, Roger Corman was having a lot of fun, wasn't he? He was having a lot of fun. He's like, all right, let's make these low budget flicks. I'll make some money. We'll drink some beers. We'll have a good time. Let's see. Zoracle Dax. Howdy. Terry Catterley. Hi, Terry. Greetings. Where's Susie G? That's a good question. Where's Susie G? Is she going to some kind of a wedding or something? Isn't there like a there's like a thing with the son and the son's significant other? I think there's something going on there. Let's see who else we have. But I don't keep track of Susie's social schedule. Nora's headed to Ruidosa in a week. No electricity. Finally, some cell service. Holy shit. Houston without electricity and air conditioning has got to be hellish. Absolutely hellish. Roger Corman rocked. He did. He had a lot of fun. All right. Looks like we're all caught up here. We're all caught up in this place. So when we get into the Astro Weather, boy, we are making darn good time. Darn good time. Let's zoom in, shall we? Is everybody having fun with the Biden escapades? Oh, this is on the unintentional comedy scale. It is we're off the Richter chart. When you have CNN and Jake Tapper playing, basically they have to subtitle what he says. They have to subtitle what he says, and he's going through this interview that he did on this quote unquote black radio station. Have you guys heard this? So he was on this black radio station, and the host of the radio station, a woman who happens to be black, was given 8 questions to ask the president. Now, out of those 8, she got to choose 4. This is not uncommon, by the way. This happens all the time. This is how they do it. And Joe Biden saying that he's the first black vice president, first black female. I mean, it's just a train wreck. And the poor woman got fired for admitting that they gave her the questions. Now, I don't know about you, but if I am that demographic, which is black, female, Democrat, I'm not real happy that she got fired because she was just doing her job. And why wouldn't the Biden administration, which theoretically has all this power, say, hey, look, give her job back? Come on. Come on. In a rare moment of honesty and candor, that's what she admitted. They gave her the questions. She chose 4. It doesn't look, it doesn't look good when Jake Tapper has to have subtitles like you're watching Brad Pitt in what was that movie? Not Snatch, but the other one. And you had to have subtitles to understand them, right? We're at the Brad Pitt stage of Snatch for Joe Biden. That's where we are now. And the poor woman lost her job. So before I dive into this, apparently the money's stopped. The donors have stopped. That is a pretty significant development it's a siege. Like, this is really what's happening now. It is a full-on siege. Like the Bidens are like this. They're like a tick. They're like a super tick that they can't get out now. But it's their own damn fault. It is their own. Both parties have their warts, trust me. But it's the Democrats' fault because they started drinking the DEI Kool-Aid. That became their party. All right, enough politics. let's get into the astrology. Maybe this is what I'm talking about. It's the moon in Virgo, 23 degrees, conjuncting my sun. I'm feeling rather critical today. So we have a grand trine. Look at this. Hallelujah. Moon in Virgo, Pluto kind of hanging out there, even though it's in Aquarius. It is part of the trine because the moon by degree is in a trine angle with Pluto, right? Just like by degree, Uranus and Mars are in the mix as well. We're coming up on the big Mars Uranus conjunction. We're about 4 days off from that moment in time. And I hope everything is fine. I hope it's fine. I hope this Mars Uranus conjunction, at the very least, brings with it some forceful change, and that's about it. But on the other hand, it is a very powerful conjunction, particularly because it's conjunct Algol, and as we've laid out before, the relationship with Israel's sun. But we have a grand trine today. And the moon is right in the pocket there with Mars, Uranus. And this is a get things done kind of day. Get it done. Get it done. Virgo, of course, absolutely relishes staying busy and working. Unfortunately for me, I'm a 29-degree Virgo, so I kind of missed out on that. That said, it does provide me with the impetus to show up here every day at 8 a.m. But this is a good day to get shit done. Seriously. And you have Juno conjunct the moon. So I would suggest that not only do you get things done, but explore new ways of getting things done. Find new models of efficiency, because that's what Virgo is really good at, right? And with the moon trine Pluto, you stick with it till you're done. And I'm going to take my own advice on this today and stick with it till you're done. And the moon in Virgo is also a little unapologetic about how it interacts with the world on an orderly basis, right? Because Virgo is all about, Pisces is about chaos. I don't know how many of you really understand that, but it's about chaos. Pisces is like the collective unconscious and everything that's swelling inside that world, right? So Virgo is literally the order out of chaos, which is the miasma of Pisces. So today we have the moon in opposition with Neptune. That's going to happen later on in the day. The one thing I'll say about today, though, is watch out for your justifications, because it's one of those days where you can get all amped up and fired up and be productive, but along the way you may lose the forest for the trees. Just saying, right? And you may not have as a compassionate view of others who may not be as industrious or productive as you, right? It's kind of like, get off your lazy ass and start doing something around here. To me, that's the moon Neptune opposition. And I also feel like if you need to take a break during the day, it's okay, right? Daydream a little bit, but don't get stuck there, because that moon, you want to keep your momentum up, right? This is one of those momentum days because you can really get a lot done. But with the Neptune opposition, if you take a break and you daydream, and the next, like, well, let me go online for a little bit. The next thing, it's 2 hours later. I am so guilty of that. So watch out for that today. The other thing too, from like a higher, I don't call it a higher perspective. I would just say more from a collective perspective. I think there's a lot of, lying going on today. right? With that Moon Neptune opposition, especially when it comes to health and specifically with like Biden's mental health. Again, that Moon Neptune opposition. Oh, he's fine. He just had a bad day. He's We have meetings with him all the time. He's sharp as a tack. Don't worry about him. Don't worry about him. He'll take care of Trump. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that Neptune Moon opposition is a lot of deception. Okay, so here's another thing you got to keep an eye out for. I'm just saying, just keep an eye out for it as kind of as an immediate trend, right? Like something that's you could look at in the news. And go, oh yeah, we talked about this in the Astro Weather Day. That's these lying motherfuckers in the pharmaceutical industry. Keep your eye on that. That's that Neptune Moon opposition as well. So we're talking about receipts with COVID and whatever other lies that they want to uh, advance, clearly for the safety and health of our own well-being. Keep your eyes on the lies when it comes to the medical side of things today, specifically. The moon is also in opposition with Saturn as well, and so we are critical of the system today. Saturn's the system, right? Saturn is the mainstream. Saturn really is the system. So the moon opposing Saturn, it's like, nah. We may have to break up. That's really a divorce aspect. I would say that 8 times out of 10 in a natal chart, if somebody has a moon Saturn opposition, they've gone through a divorce as a child, not as an adult, right? So this like we're breaking up here, right? I really feel like this is one of those days where, because I think of Virgo as like the people, right? Virgo is like the folk, and we have this great grand trine with the moon, which is an affirmation of many things, most of which I would say would be self-sufficiency. And then we have this opposition with the moon and Neptune and moon and Saturn. So we're breaking up, right? Kind of enough of this. So this is today's an interesting day, and moving into the evening. So look, I would say, as far as that goes, look for defections, right? I mean, to turn that back in on the Biden story, and just see who jump ship, right? Sorry, we're breaking up. Gotta go. But I like the energy today. I think it's good. We've got a grand trine. We got a mystic rectangle. We got a lot going on. The moon is in sextile with the sun, so it is easy, right? All you got to do is be intentional and be a busy beaver. Get some things done, especially around the house. Around the house, the homestead. I mean, Janice is a crafter, right? Janice, good day for you to get into that crafting. It's a crafty crafter kind of day. Sun Moon sextile. And we have the Sun Saturn trine as well. Hidden, right? Well, not really hidden, but locked into the mystic rectangle. I like today. Today's got some really good energy. Even the Jupiter square with Saturn. I can see that. We're gonna have that Jupiter Saturn square going on for quite a while. And that's one of those ongoing aspects where I think it's really important to stay on top of your budget. You don't want to overspend with a Jupiter Saturn square. Like only get things that are this is for the entire year. Right? You want to trim your budget this year. because next year, when the moon goes into Cancer, you may need those resources. And you may need to plug those resources into where you're living, whether it's off grid or your self-sustainable home or even your own home, right? Jupiter in Cancer is really, really good for that. So you want to expand into that area. In order to expand into that area, you need resources. So watch your pocketbook. I've had a hell of a time with spending this goddamn truck that hopefully by the end of today will be finally fixed. It's just been a money pit. So try to limit your excessive expenditures, and every now and then something's going to come up, right? Something's going to come up, but you want to hold that aside because next year is going to be pretty chaotic. I'm just telling you. And that Jupiter in Cancer, you want to be able to tap into that, right? That's also not just investing or purchasing things that you need, but also having the resources to get through a period of time that is probably going to be a lot more chaotic than it is now. So watch out for overspending. I would say only get what you need. And ask yourself, do I really need this or do I need this to feel good about myself today? Every now and then you can treat yourself. I think it's fine. But this Jupiter Saturn square is going to go on for quite a while. I also feel like it has another ramification because it's in Gemini. And it's like, well, what you say matters, especially when we see it in the media. It's like, oh, what did you say? Are you saying the quiet part out loud? We're going to talk a little bit about this on 15, but there are some very interesting conversations starting to take place about historical narratives emerging from World War II. And this is going on between Dr. Naomi Wolf and Candace Owens. And Candace Owens has gone based. This is watching Candace Owens become very interesting. But again, this is what we're talking about here with this Jupiter Saturn square, right? Jupiter, I call the Jupiter square like the gambler's angle because you're opening things up in a way that's risky, right? So this Jupiter square to Saturn, the Saturn in Pisces, it's sacrosanct. It's like this is the historical narrative, or this is the myth. This is the doctrine. In Jupiter and Gemini. Gemini is the trickster, man, right? I mean, it's the trickster. So Jupiter Gemini comes in, starts scoring Saturn. It's like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? That's the theme. That's the theme for the next year. Jupiter gets into that retrograde, comes back, squares again. So a lot of so-called sacred cows are going to be, I wouldn't necessarily say disassembled, but they're going to be talked about. Mercury is in Leo, and what's it doing? Squaring off on Mars. Yeah, that Mercury Mars square every day now for the next 10 days, 11 days. Mercury's coming in. Oh boy, that's gonna be a hell of a show with that Mercury Mars Uranus square. Some of these global leaders and talking heads, they're going to say some shit that they're not going to be able to walk back. This is the kind of invective that becomes fighting words. Yeah, becomes fighting words. Because Mercury and Leo, nobody wants to back down, right? I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss. In your own life, be careful. I'm just saying. I'm just saying you can be clearly dramatic in your approach, but plus with all this heat, I think people's patience is real thin. real thin. I guess if you got to go off, though, this is a great aspect. If you're going to go off, go big, right? Next 10, 11 days, if you're going to go off, make it count, make it memorable, right? Make it legendary. Because that's what Leo would do. Venus about to change signs. We're at 29, and we're normally kind of inert with that anaretic degree, but we're getting that nice trine there with Neptune. So the vibes are good, even in the midst of all this heat. The vibes are good and pretty chill. Once Venus moves into Leo, a little bit of a different story. Not that it will do anything dramatic with Neptune. You'll still get that 0, 1, 2 trine, that out of sign trine, right? So that's still going on. But Venus and Leo is very different than Venus and Cancer. Lots of pride with Venus and Leo. And the first stop in the train is that opposition to Pluto. If you're going to get into a power struggle inside relationships, be very aware of what you're getting into. Just saying. Pallas is direct in Scorpio. Yes. And it is in the Piscean decan. I think that's really interesting. Keep your eyes on Saudi Arabia and the petrodollar with this Pallas in Scorpio. Keep your eyes on it. It's interesting. They've brought back 9/11. Oh, we have more evidence about the Saudis' involvement in 9/11. Isn't it interesting? They decouple from the dollar, and it's like, I bet you didn't know that we had this footage and we have these connections with people inside your government. Good luck on that. Good luck on timing, highly suspicious. But yeah, oil. I would say this has everything to do with oil. And you want to look for patterns around oil and drugs and the misuse and abuse of both. All right. Let's get into our star of the day. And this is where I get to tell you about True Hemp Science and my buddy Chris. Like, you know what? I forgot that I had the sleep gummies last night, and I should have used them. I forgot because it did take me a bit of time to get to sleep, and I have to remind myself tonight to go full sleep gummy. Anyway, if you want to find out more about the sleep gummies, you can certainly do that over at truehempscience.com, as well as all the other fine CBD products, all organically sourced. And all you got to do is type in 15MINS, 15MINS, and you will get a goodie bag, probably with some sleep gummies in there, as your gift from Chris to you, the customer who comes through this portal, i.e., the Astro Weather. Any purchase of $150 or more will always get you free shipping. There's always a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can make an appointment to find out which of his many fine CBD products, both internally and externally, work for you or could work for you. So that's truehempscience.com, 15MINS when you check out and you spend $100 or more for the good stuff. All right. So let's get into our True Hemp Science star of the day. Yes, it is none other than Yul Brynner. Yul Brynner is an interesting character, to say the least. We'll get into Yul's story a little bit here. He was born in all places in Vladivostok. Now, supposedly his family originates closer to Mongolia, and his father was, I believe, part Mongolian and was an engineer, and his mother was a gypsy. Now, according to Brynner, his grandfather was one of the kind of architects and builders of Vladivostok, which is not a inconsiderable task, even though it was Russia. So he comes from some very interesting stock. Now, his mother takes him, and I think he's got a sibling or two, and moves to Paris because she wants him to get the best education possible. And Yule is not a very good student. He spends most of his time kind of carousing and taking part in the bohemian scene at that time in Paris. And he starts off as a circus performer and does, lots of acrobatic shit, right? Like he's one of these very athletic guys. He's young. He's probably around 14 or 15. And he hurts his back. So he can no longer do that. He can't perform in the circus. So then he gets a guitar and learns how to play the guitar and starts to sing gypsy songs. So he uh, plays in cafes and he gets a bit of a following. He becomes pretty good at it, and he starts to rub shoulders with some of the artistic glitterati of the day. So one of Brenner's friends was the French surrealist Jean Cocteau. Now remember, Cocteau is much older than Brenner, and Cocteau had a reputation of being a very sadistic homosexual. That was Jean Cocteau's bag. He also knew what's his name, the Cubist painter, uh, Pablo Picasso. He was friends with Pablo. So he hung out with some very interesting people, and I can't speak for Picasso, but clearly Cocteau was a weird guy. Cocteau also, I believe, belonged to what the Priory of Zion. Like he was involved in like secret societies, and so this is a guy that Brenner gets close to, and eventually he comes to the United States where he starts to act, and everything happens very quickly for Brenner, and he's a photographer, and he winds up having a couple acting gigs on Broadway. They dry up, and then he somehow gets a job directing for one of the networks very early on. He's really young, right? So he's born in 1920, and then I think where are we now in the timeline? This is around maybe 1953. So he's around 33 years old, which is pretty young. And so he's directing, and this is live television, right? Because he has his background as a photographer. But then what happens to Yul Brynner? He stumbles into the play The King of Siam, right? Where he stumbles into the material, and that becomes The King and I, which is a role he becomes famous for. Right? Played it over 5,000 times. And in the same year, that eventually moves into Hollywood and acting. He did the 10 Commandments and The King and I in the same year. So that's a big year for Yul Brynner. The reason I'm bringing this up is because of Leo and his ascendant. Mercury, Neptune, and Jupiter and Leo. So he plays these royal like he's Ramses. He's Pharaoh. And he's the king in The King and I, a role that he identified with his entire life, literally, right? So we can see that all the Leo being expressed in the first house. He speaks dramatically. He's got a presence about him. What's interesting is that he doesn't really um, sort of fit into the Leo rising mold, right? In fact, he's the anti-Leo rising. He has no hair, and that's done on purpose, by the way. His hairline was okay, nothing to write home about, but the lack of hair set him apart from everybody. So Brynner created this aura of mystery about him, and you can see that with the 12th house. That's where his sun is. That's where you can see, like, I think the kink is in the 12th house. Sun, Venus, Pluto. And I've talked about Sun in the 12th house and Pluto in the 12th house. And like there's something to prove. Like this guy had something to prove. And there's a funny story where he and Steve McQueen did not get along when they were part of the Magnificent Seven. They had this terrible feud, right? McQueen's an Aries, Brynner's a Cancer. It's like oil and water. And Brynner was not real tall. But then again, neither was Steve McQueen. In fact, Brynner might have been even shorter than Steve McQueen, if you could believe that. So there was this scene or a number of scenes that they would do. And Brynner, before the scene would happen, would create like a dirt mound so he could stand on it and be taller than Steve McQueen. True story. McQueen would find out about this, and every day he would take a little more off the dirt so that this was happening, right? So then Brynner found out, and he had to hire a personal assistant just to watch Steve McQueen. So Steve McQueen didn't fuck with his dirt mound. It's funny shit, right? But he's a 12th house person. He's a man of mystery. Now, I think this is funny because last night I was looking at this chart and I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's an actor. He can travel anywhere. He takes the queen and I on the road every place he goes, right? It is a global experience. You just take the troop and go everywhere. He's famous for it. You'll sell out the theater, and he's a photographer. That's the other thing. Like he's this. I think UNESCO or the United Nations hired him at one point to represent people that are not doing so well. So anyway, he's a photographer, and I thought to myself, "Fucking Yul Brynner's a spy. He's a spy. That's what I think." And he could be easily a double agent. Remember, he's born in Russia. Now it's Soviet Union, Russia, 1920. Anything post 1917, right? But I don't think he's a communist. But I do think he is a spy. And I looked it up, and there was this movie that he did, which was quite interesting. Let me put it up here. And the name of the movie is Yul Brynner in The Double Man. And this is a movie from, I believe, 1966, where he plays a CIA agent. Meanwhile, the Russians have created the perfect look-alike version of Brynner's character. And somewhere in the Alps, they're going to swap him out. I love the 70s fonts here. Of course, the beautiful Britt Eklund is part of the scenery. I thought to myself, isn't that interesting? And it's like one of those things. It's like the glass bead game. I'm like, Yul Brynner feels like a spy to me. Let me look at some of his movies. Oh, The Double Man. He plays a CIA agent. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, let's get back to his chart. Clearly, the dude's got some juju. He's got Mars and Scorpio. He's got a Mars Pluto trine. He's got a Mars Uranus trine, right? He's got this grand water trine. The guy's got some juice, right? Like, how many women were into Yul Brynner? A lot, a lot. And I think it's that grand. And he's got that true note in Scorpio, right? He's kind of a wizard. He's got kind of a warlock vibe because he's able to create things. I mean, this guy comes from the outer fucking regions of Mongolia and then winds up becoming a huge international star. That to me is true note and in Scorpio material. Speaks 5 languages or spoke 5 languages. And of course, he becomes famous for ultimately his second to last role, which was in Westworld. And he plays this kind of character that is very similar to the character he played in the Magnificent Seven. And he's a robot. And that movie was a smash fucking hit, right? It's a science fiction movie. Uranus. Uranus is sci-fi. Eighth house, training is Mars. During that time, that was like 73, 74. I remember seeing that in the movies. So Neptune was in Sagittarius, which would have put it right down there in his fifth house, which would have been good for him in terms of acting, sort of like the final run, by what is it, 1985, he's dead. And he was diagnosed with cancer, and he went to some kind of alternative treatment center in Germany and said he was cured. Lived about 2 years, and he has a pretty famous commercial that he did, which was against smoking. It was like one of the last things he did. Saturn in the second house. I always find people that have Saturn in the second house with money to be fascinating, right? Because it's one of those aspects where you really have to work hard for your resources. You either reject materiality or you really work hard to embrace materiality. And when I think of Saturn in the second house, I also think of somebody like Prince, who had Saturn, and you could tell he grew up in a fucked up and emotionally and probably somewhat financially impoverished situation as a kid. So Prince says, I don't want that. So he works his ass off constantly, right? And he accrues a fortune. The same could be said for Brynner, who literally, probably when they left Mongolia, didn't really have a whole lot of money, right? And so he's, going to figure out how to escape the shackles of being poor. So he works his ass off, even if at times he might have been involved with questionable people. I don't know. I'm not going to judge his relation with Jean Cocteau. He also has, well, what is that? It's not going to really work there. Let's talk about his moon just a little bit. The other thing too, he's got Aries on the midheaven, right? So he's always to the world. He's always going to appear strong and manly, right, and masculine. And when I think of the bald head, I think of Aries, right? To me, that's the bald head. That's the chrome dome. And that's where he becomes famous and well known for the roles and the parts that he plays. And did Yul Brynner ever play a weak man or a weak character in any of his movies? Now, I haven't seen every single Yul Brynner movie, but I would seriously doubt it. Right? This is the embodiment of Brynner here and here. Even with Aries, right? What is Aries? Aries is the ram. What's his character in the Ten Commandments? Ramses. Set him on a trajectory for stardom. Very memorable character. South Node, Moon conjunction in Taurus. I mean, I think it helps him in terms of his perception with the public because he's mysterious. The moon in the 10th house is always mysterious. Who is this guy? Where does he come from? Right? He's got that sextile with Pluto, that sextile with Uranus. I could see where he would be kinky. Totally kinky. Mars Moon opposition. I gotta shut my imagination down. Right. I'm just trying to imagine, like, Yul Brynner with whips and chains in the bedroom. Uh, I'll show you who's the king. Anyway, not a lot of air in the chart, so not a lot of objectivity. He's got plenty of fire, plenty of water, some earth grounding. So he's got the elements of acting, really, fire and water. Passion and the ability to channel emotion. Interesting character. I can see the cruel. There's a part of him I think is a little cruel. It's a little cruel. Just a little bit. You can kind of see it, right? It's that Mars square to the ascendant is always about conflict and aggression, always. Um, he lived life on his own terms. Saturn Uranus opposition. He found his ticket to freedom really was the King of Siam. He played over 5,000 performances of that role. He loved it. You would think that if you played a role 5,000 times, somewhere in the thousands, you're like, Jesus Christ, can I play something else? No, it was his brand, and he became the character. Right, he became that, and he even played it when he had cancer. That's how much he loved playing that role. Anyway, there you go. There's our True Hemp Science star of the day, Mr. Yul Brynner. Please join us over on 15 Minutes. The link is in the chat. We also stream live on Rumble simultaneously. So if you can't catch us on Boxcast, check us out on Rumble. Don't forget to hit the like on the way out. Subscribe. If you feel like buying yours truly a cup of coffee, you can do that. And for all of you who have, I thank you, and I'm grateful for your coffees. Tomorrow, I think we'll be back over on YouTube for the Friday Farcast. I may just do part 3 of what we've been doing over on Rumble and Boxcast. Today, we're looking at specifically the 1970s and the terror parade of the 1970s. When we get into it's all part of the narrative that I started yesterday. So if you join me today, trust me, as we go through the hit parade of the 70s, you are going to have your mind blown. And what happens in the 70s completely shapes the future and ultimately brings us to where we are now. All right. Thanks for being here. God bless y'all. Treat each other well. And remember, you have everything you need inside of you to take care of business. And all you got to do is trust, have faith, and dialogue. Dialogue with the Most High, which is all that is. And you'll find a way. All right. Take good care. Bye for now.